is so dry, isn't he? He's so dry. He's like the driest athlete of all time. Maybe him and Barry Bonds. We'll do that segment at some point. He sent, a lot of messages. First of all, that program was something. I mean, you guys, Rodgers was kind of just laying back. Brady's doing his thing. Mickelson talking nonstop. Bryson comes out hot with a Deflategate joke at Brady, which he just laughed off like he normally does. I actually think, though, and I'm not kidding, I think that the I'm offended shirt has actually nothing to do with the Packers. I really don't. I think it has more to do with Rodgers' feelings on cancel culture and virtue signaling, of which he's talked often. But that's the thing. He knows that when he wears that, that's not how it will be interpreted. That's all very, very intentional and manipulated. Guy's got 200 shirts. He chooses that one to sit down in the middle of all this summer. And that, my friends, is why this is the best summer storyline we've ever done on the show. You have the best, maybe smartest player in the league just messing with people, messing with the world, messing with the Packers, messing with us. If you look at other summer storylines we've done, is Le'Veon Bell going to hold out? Is Zeke coming back from Cabo? It doesn't exactly have the magnitude, the gravitas of this one, all right? I think the message is, I'm happy. I kind of am playing golf with some friends. I'm not worried about you. I really think the I'm offended thing has nothing to do with the Packers, but he lets us think that it will. That's the beauty of Rodgers. If we didn't have this story, you know what we'd be talking about right now? Manufactured stuff about the Cowboys and rank conjecture about some rookies and how they're going to do this year. Thank God we have this storyline. We got updates almost every single day. And his message is, you think I'm offended, but I'm really chill. I don't care.
Kyle, I disagree. I feel like he chose that shirt because it's the perfect representation of how he feels. I'm offended. Yeah, he's offended. Maybe he's offended that he was called complicated. Maybe he's offended that there's people on TV, individuals like me, that's telling him to show up and play ball. Maybe he's offended by the fans that once loved him that are whispering that he's acting like a spoiled athlete. Maybe he is offended. And you know what? If he's offended, that's okay. It is a perfectly picked T-shirt so we all can start talking about how does Aaron Rodgers feel. Listen, when you wear a T-shirt at certain times, that's just what it is. When a guy who's at a bachelor party goes to Vegas and he wears that shirt that says what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, he's looking to get into something wild. And there better be a buddy system because he might end up in a hospital or in a ditch somewhere. When a chick who's at a wedding and she's one of the bridesmaids wears a she's getting hitched and we're getting blitzed shirt, oh, she's there to get it in and she's gonna get it in. Okay, sometimes people wear a shirt because that's exactly how they feel. All right, but all jokes aside though, he said something in there that as an NFL player, I have to address. Rodgers said, oh man, it just feels good to be relaxing and doing what I want to do, and traveling and living life and not having to be somewhere and not having to show up to football and still be an NFL player. Of course, I'm paraphrasing, but you get the gist. He said, I'm doing whatever I want to do, but while everybody else on my team is working, I don't have to work, but I'm still an NFL player. What a luxury, huh? Yeah. How many guys have that luxury?
Powerful.
I know I didn't over my 11-year career. I couldn't just show up and say, oh, you know what? I just want to chill, do my thing, travel all around the world. Hey, yo, y'all have fun at camp. I'll show up when I want to. Now, there's two ways to look at it. One, Aaron Rodgers earns that. He deserves that. He's a Hall of Famer, one of the best quarterbacks of all time. I will stamp that 10 times out of 10. On the flip side, not every player has that luxury. So now you have to question. Are there guys in that locker room that are sitting back after Aaron Rodgers so casually said, I'm just living my life doing whatever I want to do, but I'm still an NFL player? Maybe they should be wearing that shirt because they could be offended by that comment.
It's powerful stuff. I also, if you want to look at the flip side of it, Nate, he is making $37 million as the reigning MVP. And if they want to look at it, they could look in the mirror and say, I'm not Aaron Rodgers. And you said it yourself. He's earned it. And whether or not they want to do the egalitarian, we're all on the same level deal, I think they, to a man, know that, this guy's his own deal. He's his own bird. And Kyle, the T-shirt, it's amazing that, I personally on the T-shirt, I'm bemused by it, but I could see where a lot of people would say there's a double standard. We're freaking out about Mark Murphy saying complicated fella, but we give a wink to Rodgers when he wears a shirt and say that, what a funny guy. truth of the matter is, I watched this whole thing, and that wasn't what I came away with even worried about. I thought this was an amazing 4-person interview, moderated well, and the exchanges were actually kind of biting. Take a listen to Brady, who was trashing Rodgers kiddingly throughout this thing, to the point where I'm like, we got to clip this off on the show. Listen to Brady to Rodgers about his golf game.
Aaron and I are grinders and competitors, and just like y'all are, our golf games are a little bit better. So, we'll see.
I do think you do have a partner that would probably have liked to go for it a little more often than he has in the past. So, Bryce, I'm glad you're encouraging him to kind of go for it when it's on the line. So rather than just not get into the fairway or something like that, and try to play for the next shot.
Yeah, I'll never push anyone to do anything, so he can choose whatever he wants to do.
I usually don't get the option in my.
That's what I mean. You'll finally have the option, Aaron.
Couldn't resist. Rodgers couldn't resist. He had to get it in. It's their nature. And I'll tell you, Nate, I think as much as we all want to say there's 256 games in a season and there's 53 guys on a team, I honestly think Rodgers is in an island all on his own. And he's that good where I think this is one of those deals where the Packers are like, whatever version we get of you, I'm offended or not, we'll take you. Please come back.
Yeah, it's so true. I think there's something really scary, Striggs. And I the T-shirt's one thing, whatever. What he was saying about being unbothered, there's no worse thing, whether you're in a relationship, a breakup, a partnership. If you're the party that is unbothered, the one that's not actually sweating it, that gives you all of the leverage. There's really nothing more terrifying than that. And when I saw all the, I've seen the outrage about him not showing up at minicamp for whatever reason. It's very different, but it did remind me and take me back to 2018. Still have close connections with the New England media, and there was so much outrage, Riggs, about Tom Brady missing. It was OTAs. He wasn't getting fined, but he always came out and he was at OTAs every year, and he decided, you know what, I'm not going to do it. He went to Qatar. He was with his family. He was seen in the desert, right, like on camels and all this stuff, and everybody back in New England was losing their mind. So to me, what Rodgers is saying is that he wants to do things on his own terms, and then he has this guy who maybe this was the first step in a series of steps that shows you that you can be successful in the NFL. Maybe it is a small group like Nate is saying. Maybe it's the 1%ers, but you can do things and take them into your own hands. So I'm not trying to draw comparisons, but that same vibe was there. That Rodgers is like, I'm going to do me. I'm going to sort of controlling things. So not worrying and it's just really, really scary. And I don't see this ending anytime soon. Kyle, let's go back to you with this whole T-shirt business.
1%ers is a good way to put it. It's a meritocracy, Nate. They can do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah.
They're Rodgers and Brady. But hold on, we'll get back to that. Fascinating thoughts about the T-shirt. Personally, I think he was in Hawaii and saw some T-shirt shop. It was like, oh, that's funny. I'm going to buy that. However, if you do buy into the conspiracy, as Nate seems to, that it was a deliberate choice, I found myself wondering in a very GMFB way, what shirt should he wear next? Or what shirt should he have worn instead of that? I thought a Favre jersey would be a very simple, powerful statement about where he is. I also think a more subtle one would be a golf shirt with an insignia of a club in Denver, where John Elway golfs. That would be a little powerful. But I also thought if Mark Murphy sits around and says, complicated fella, a good wink of that would just be this. I think this is what you come out with. You love 90s and 2000s music. You wear the Avril shirt, chill out, what you yelling for, lay back. It's all been done before. I think that's the simple shirt I wish you would have worn. In fact, I'm kind of offended that he didn't. But I'd love to hear other people's ideas, because if we're doing T-shirt wars now, they're in our wheelhouse, baby.
So hit us up, guys, at GMFB. We'll be showing yours on the air. Maybe we'll get some suggestions from Nate and Peter. And I should remind people that year that Tom Brady was on the camel, he actually won a Super Bowl over the Rams that year. So everyone was freaking out for no reason. So there's been one championship between what you guys just saw and what he did down in Tampa Bay.